Where's the microphone? You pick. Why don't you start with this gentleman right here?
Hi, my name is Brian also. We
only choose Brians, it turns out. So
will you stand with Israel in spite of what other nations do?
Yes, and the reason I stand with Israel, I want to be very clear about this. There's many different bases, right? I have no personal, lineage ties or anything like this to Israel. The reason I stand with Israel is because it's the right thing to do for America, actually. So here's how I want to actually see our Israel policy progress. I think one of the great accomplishments of Trump's foreign policy was the Abraham Accords. A belief that we did not have to hold an entire region and a nation hostage over settling one complicated old score in Palestine. To say that we can move forward and reintegrate Israel into other would-be friendly nations in the Middle East without having to settle completely that old score, that we can still move forward on the other fronts. So my top goal, and I think I can deliver this in my first year in office, is Abraham Accords 2.0. Let's get Saudi Arabia, let's get Oman, Qatar, Indonesia in there. This propels Israel forward. And so then we might get to a place where by 2028, when our current $30 billion commitment, $38 billion commitment, which I absolutely stand by and view as sacrosanct, we may be in a place where if we've really succeeded with Abraham Accords 2.0, we've long graduated from the needs of the past where the necessity of that support had to be what it was. And so that's really what I mean. When I say support Israel, I support Israel because it's in the American interest. And from Israel's perspective, that's a much stronger commitment than somebody that just happens to have a preference versus a nation that says, no, this is in our interest, actually, to make sure that we're getting the intelligence that we're getting. Many of those weapons that we've sent to Ukraine have ended up in the wrong hands. How do we know? It's actually because of Israeli intelligence. I think a lot of the technology transfer from the Iron Dome, this has been useful for missile defense in the United States. So when I say it's in our self-interest, I actually think that's actually also the strongest basis that's in Israel's self-interest, too. And that gets to a broader vision of my foreign policy. I am a George Washington America First conservative. I don't listen to inauguration speeches. Like I said, 2024 isn't the start line for me. I pay attention to farewell speeches. Ronald Reagan's in 1989. Dwight D. Eisenhower's when he left office. George Washington's all-time best farewell speech, where he said that we would base our foreign policy based on what advances American interests. And so that's the prism through which I will view everything. I don't think we have independent humanitarian obligations. I think our best version of being a humanitarian in the world is actually by being strong at home. Because when America is strong, the rest of the free world still has hope that we are that shining city on a hill. But what hope does the rest of the world have if America itself is weak? And so that's the way I think about foreign policy, and that is why I come down strongly on the side of Israel rather than dignifying a lot of the nonsense that the Biden administration has been paying homage to in the last 2 years. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Thank you. Maybe we'll go to, we'll go to the back later. We'll come up. We have a young woman in the front.